Good morning and welcome to the BioStock studio for this live virtual investor pitch featuring Scandion Oncology. Scandion Oncology is a clinical phase 2 company based in Copenhagen. They're developing treatments aimed at counteracting cancer drug resistance. Here to tell us more about the company via link is CEO Bo Rode Hansen. Thank you for joining us, Bo, and the floor is yours.
Pleasure to be here to present Scandion Oncology. Scandion Oncology is the company that's going to transform lives for patients, the millions of patients struggling with cancer drug resistance. My name is Bo Rode Hansen and I'm the CEO of the company. And it's a pleasure to actually be able to take part in such an important mission that we are on in Scandion. We are tackling one of the biggest problems in modern medicine, especially modern medicine when it comes to cancer treatment. The company was founded in 2017 by Professor Niels Brunner and Jens Stenvang and based on a compound from Saniona. And this has been brought together based on decades of research in the area of medical oncology. Right now, we are going through a rights emission where we're raising 236 million Swedish krona. And therefore, I'll start with a disclaimer and a forward-looking statement for the company. If we look at Scandion Oncology at a glance, it's today I'm going to take you through our technology and take you under the helm in terms of our pipeline. I will also talk to you about the market that we are pursuing and that we are aspiring to. And then I'm going to also explain to you about our model for partnership and collaborations. Now, finally, I'll talk a bit about our fully guaranteed rights emission that's going to bring 236 million Swedish kronor to the company. Now, if we look at Scandion at a glance, it's important to start with the fact that 90% of cancer deaths, the losses in cancer, are related to cancer drug resistance. That's a big problem to take on. And when we talk about drug resistance, it's well understood that when it comes to, for instance, antibiotics, we know that we have to be careful to use too many antibiotics in our environment with our domestic animals or treating our kids for their infections, because it can confer drug resistance. It's far less appreciated that when it comes to cancer treatment, it's actually the drug resistance that at the end leaves us with a message that we have maybe heard with ones dear to us that are struggling with cancer and are given the unfortunate message, there's nothing more we can do for you. So this is the problem that we are really solving at Scandion. And we have a first-in-class drug, SCO-101, which is in clinical trials in several cancer indications to actually try to combat that problem. Now, SCO-101 is a first-in-class drug. It's safe, so we know we can use it in humans. And it's an oral, so it can be taken daily as a pill. Now, this tackles some very specific mechanisms underlying the machinery in cancer that confers the resistance towards chemotherapy. And as such, it gives us the possibility to add it to existing treatments and thereby creating a new treatment regime that will benefit the outcome and the survival of patients. And from a commercial perspective, it actually gives us a possibility to tap into an existing market for chemotherapy and thereby reach peak sales and the value of that fast. Now, when we talk about chemo resistance, it's important to understand, which I'm showing in this little animation, that resistance exists in the tumor already when it's diagnosed. And this is what is shown here with the avatar. The blue cells are the sensitive cells, the red cells are the resistant ones. When you then come in and treat a patient for the tumor with chemotherapy or another cancer drug, you sort of eradicate and kill the sensitive cells. But unfortunately, there's a risk that you leave behind resistant cells. These then have another risk to grow out again and recur, such that the tumor recurs and the cancer recurs, and thereby you need to find a new way to treat it. With SCO-101, we can treat both early and late in combination with existing cancer agents. And this is what we are trying to do, all in all, to improve the outcome and hopefully the survival of patients suffering from cancer. So this is the vision underlying the company. There are no other medicines on the market presently that can tackle this problem, but the need is very huge, as I will tell you. Now, let's take a snippet and a sneak preview of what we have in terms of technology and what we have on our pipeline. Now, the first set of data I will show you is actually an experimental set of data showing that we can do what we intend to do in a model of cancer. This is a mouse that has the unfortunate situation that it has a resistant tumor. And that's what you see if you look. The y-axis is the size of the tumor and the x-axis is time. And when you see how the tumor grows, you follow the yellow line here. And then we have treated the mouse with either an existing chemotherapy, in this case it's paclitaxel, or our SCO-101 compound alone. And neither of those have the very big effect, but when you combine them, which is the bottom line, you can see that there's a synergistic effect of the combination on a resistant tumor. So this is what is encouraging us to actually test this in cancer patients. And when we look at the ongoing clinical trials that we have, the first one we're looking at here is in metastatic colorectal cancer. These patients have gone through all the treatment lines that exist in order to try to combat their cancer, and unfortunately they're resistant. Now, we come in a trial where we combine with the chemotherapeutic FOLFIRI in a dose optimization stage, and then we continue into an efficacy arm. Right now, we are expecting our data to come out in the second quarter of 2021 from the first part of the study, and then we'll immediately commence and continue into the effective study where we can see on objective measures whether we have an overall response. So this is our first trial. We also have a second trial, and that is in a very nasty cancer where there are very few treatment options. This is metastatic pancreatic cancer. Many of these patients have resistance in their tumor already when they meet the first-line treatment. So here we've actually been granted the possibility to come in as a first-line treatment in combination with nab-paclitaxel and gemcitabine, which is the treatment scheme used in this disease, and then combined with SCO-101. There we have just started our trial in October, and we are currently finding the right dose in a phase 1b study. And when we have the optimal dose, we will then go back to the authorities and get the approval to start a randomized trial where we will test for the efficacy of the combination, and thereby be the first company that comes out with a drug in a phase 2 that combats cancer drug resistance. Now let's take a look at our pipeline, and what I can tell you is that we have many interesting readouts coming up in the next 12 to 24 months. Our pipeline is dominated by our front runner, our trailblazer, SCO-101 that I spoke about. And this is what you see also with our colorectal cancer study and our pancreatic cancer studies on the top here. I already said that we are expecting readouts from our colorectal cancer study in the second quarter of 2021 from the first part, and a completion where we will have a readout from the second part in the first half of 2022. In terms of our pancreatic cancer study, we are expecting to have our phase 1b completed in the course of second to third quarter of 2021. And then we'll go back to commence the new trial at the end of the year to set the proof of concept. Now, we also have on the drawing board a breast cancer trial, which we haven't started yet. And that gives us the possibility to combine with another treatment modality, namely the anti-hormonal treatments. And then it's important to say that we are not a one compound company. We have a pipeline, we have many analogs that we are testing in our unique platform where we can find molecules that actually tackle mechanisms of resistance in cell pairs, meaning that we have the same cancer cell in either a sensitive or resistant type, and thereby we can test our new compounds on that platform to find out if we have some new drugs that we can position our pipeline, and we will do that in a balanced, risk-balanced fashion moving forward. Now, if we look at the key milestones and the catalysts coming out from our pipeline work, it is clear from this chart that we have already achieved some of these. We are now a clinical stage company with 2 ongoing clinical trials. And just to reiterate, we are expecting a number of important milestones to come up over the next 18 to 24 months. So stay tuned to that. Now, the way that we see this developing also in terms of the market that we are aspiring to, it is very important to understand that cancer is a very severe disease. There are 18 million cases of cancer on an annual basis diagnosed in the world, and there are almost 10 million, so equivalent to the entire population of Sweden, of deaths on an annual basis from cancer. Of those, 90% are related to cancer drug resistance. So this is a huge problem and thereby also a huge market for cancer treatments. Now, if we look at chemotherapy, which is still the type of therapy in medical oncology being frequently used and where you will end with the cancer treatment, this is actually a very big market of more than $30 billion on an annual basis, and it's on the incline. It's growing. The next 5 years, there's an expected growth in value by 12% per year. This is the market that we are tapping into with SCO-101 as an add-on drug that can actually improve the outcome of these treatments. And we have started out in cancer indications where the incidence is unfortunately high. So there's a major medical need in the market that we are moving into. If we talk about what we see in terms of Scandion evolving, we have now created a clinical stage company, and we are looking at how do we see the company positioning itself in terms of corporate and business development, in terms of partnerships and collaboration. It is probably no secret that big pharmaceutical companies are also looking for new ways to solve a problem like the one that Scandion is trying to tackle within medical oncology. So we are using our drug platform that I talked about, where we can screen candidates, and the one that has been used to identify SCO-101, in order to position compounds like SCO-101 on our pipeline and then bring them to the clinical validation. This means that we need to have some strong data from proof of concepts like the one we are expecting from our metastatic colorectal cancer trial in the first half of 2022, or from our pancreatic cancer trial in 2023, in order to actually establish ourselves strongly with dialogues with pharma companies. And I think that it also gives us the opportunity to actually discuss with pharma companies in the field whether they can test their compounds on our platform and thereby maybe enter into collaborations where we could co-develop compounds. So this is our basis for both partnering and licensing discussions. I think that there are also a couple of things to consider, that besides from discussing partnerships that brings revenue in terms of licensing fees, milestones, and royalties, I think it's also important to discuss strategic partnerships. And here I have an example of a collaboration that we have announced and that we entered into with Alligator Bioscience. Alligator Bioscience is focused on immune therapy. Immune therapy is important for trying to tackle cancers. And it has been shown that when it comes to immunotherapy in cancer treatment, it often benefits the therapy to combine with chemotherapy in order to make it more effective. There we are testing with Alligator Bioscience whether SCO-101 can improve the outcome of that therapy due to the nature of tackling cancer drug resistance. And these data we are expecting in the first half, in second quarter of 2021, which will actually determine whether there will be a whole new area of opportunity for helping cancer patients with SCO-101 in immunotherapy. So as such, I can recapitulate that SCO-101 gives the possibility to combine with chemotherapy. We have data from our preclinical studies that we can combine with anti-hormonal therapy, and now we are creating the basis for also seeing if SCO-101 can help with immunotherapy. Now, if we take this all together and look at the company in terms of the highlights, and I would say if you want to take home at least 3 areas from this presentation, I think it's important to understand that we have set out to tackle one of the biggest problems in medical oncology, and that's the fact that a patient with cancer becomes resistant to the treatment. We have a first-in-class drug, SCO-101, which we're currently developing in the clinic, and it's both safe, it can be given oral, and it's specific for the mechanisms that it's tackling in terms of reverting the resistance machinery in the cancer. We can go in both in different cancer indications, like what we have shown with starting our trials in metastatic colorectal cancer and in pancreatic cancer. And we can also go in both early and late in the treatment. We are also able to combine with different modalities in cancer treatment. And finally, I want to say that there's a strong knowledge and a team in the company harboring this knowledge. And just to share a few words on that, I would say that we are now building the company, going through this rights emission and bringing in money that are guaranteed to us. We are able to take the company to the next phase. Here we have a strong team portraying more than 100 years of collective experience when it comes to development of oncology products. And we are building up on the corporate and the business development side. I'm also happy to say that I'm blessed with a very strong board. Amongst the members, we have both the Danish Mr. Biotech in Peter Høngaard Andersen and the Swedish Mr. Biotech in Carl Borregaard. And their curriculum speaks for themselves when it comes to companies that have been involved in the ecosystem. Now, finally, I want to say a few words about our fully guaranteed rights issue. We are currently raising 236 million Swedish krona. And this works in the way that existing shareholders are offered rights to subscribe for new shares, 1 right per share, and with 2 subscription rights, 1 new share can be assigned or subscribed. And the subscription price for the new shares is 22 Swedish krona per share. Now, there's some important dates here mentioned at the bottom, and the important thing is to note that the end of the subscription period is the 10th of December. It's coming up, and we expect to announce the result and the outcome of this around the 15th of December this year. And with that said, I want to thank you all for the attention to my presentation here, and I want to encourage